All right, people coming back in little by little.
I'm here.
Welcome, Claudinha.
Thank you.
Only two. Oh, volta. Vou começar. Ah, então tá bom. Tá bom. Vai.
Back again.
Joseph, you can come back.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Joseph also had a technical difficulties. He's restarting his computer. So let's give him a break.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, I love to hear you guys talking. Someone say hello to Alexandra. She just said hello.
Today, let me tell you, today I made an options. I made a call in options and my profit was 27%. Wow. I'm more than happy.
Good, good.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
What?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, I know that someone already did the registration within the BPR. They filed the application. Who did it?
My guess would be Guillermo.
Who? Yourself and Guillermo?
No. I know I didn't do mine yet. I need to. I'll do mine probably tonight. But
I'm
Guillermo
going to do
always
tomorrow.
seems to be in class first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now I'm gonna take my fingerprint. I don't know where, but I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, I started mine also. I created the user. Then the next step is to get the fingerprints. They have a list of providers on their site. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have to see which one.
I saw the list, but the list has only I think the name, the phone number, and email address. I didn't see the address, the location.
How useful.
All right. Back again. Let's start. Did we have fun with chapter 10?
Yeah.
It was good.
Very
now
good.
Let's see if we all remember what we saw on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Let me share the screen here.
South ship lines, range lines.
Nope, not this one here. Okay. Share. I think it's going to be this one here. All right. So we had everything that we need for chapter 10. There's only a few things that I need to cover, which is because the earth is rounded, those square doesn't work very well on rounded surface. So they need to make an adjustment every 24 miles. And that adjustment is called check. Okay? So if you see a question, how many miles do we need to do a check? What will be the answer?
24.
24
miles.
Okay? Now, let's look into this here. That's a little review because we already went over all the slides, but we're gonna look into the reviews. We know that it's a range, the vertical lines, and the horizontal line is called tier, and they meet in Tallahassee. Township is those little squares created by the tiers and the ranges. That's what it is. And the section is when you zoom in a township, you see a section. How many sections do we have?
In one section,
How many
1 mile.
sections do we have?
36.
36 per township.
36.
What is the size of a section? There's two answers for that question.
1 mile each size.
1 mile square
Yeah.
or
640 acres.
640 acres, right? How about a township? What is the size of a township?
6 miles.
6
6
miles
miles
square,
square,
36
or
square miles.
36 square miles. Good. Okay, this is one question here. You're on the southeast corner of section 33, T1N R3E. How far from Tallahassee?
Are you asking about the figure of number 11?
Some sounds on the background, guys, please. All right, this is the question. You are on the southeast corner of section 33,
Mm,
T1N R3E. How far from Tallahassee?
no, I don't know.
Rafael,
Oh, I think it's 15.
yeah, why 15?
Okay, we are on the third range. Okay,
Okay, good.
so there are 3 miles in this range that we should go to move west towards Tallahassee. And then we would need to move 2 townships. That would be another 6 and another 6.
I'm gonna remember that we are right here. It's telling me that we are on the southeast corner of section 33, so it means we are right here. So if we are east, meaning the Tallahassee is on west, so I need to move west. So then I have 1 mile here, 2 miles, and I have 3 miles. And if I'm on range 3, there's 2 more ranges until I reach Tallahassee. So if each one has 6, 6, 6, 12 plus 3. 15. Okay?
Okay.
Now you are on the southwest corner of section 31 of T1N R3W. How far from Tallahassee?
What is the location again? I'm sorry.
It's right here. Look, right on top. Southwest corner of section 31, T1N R3W. How far from Tallahassee?
T1N. Which one? 1 second. Don't say the answer. Okay. 31. So, 12.
Alexander, how far from Tallahassee?
17 miles?
Almost. Almost. You got close.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Do I
one-
need to count each section?
Well, you have to count the distance, right? You know that each section has 1 mile.
Uh-huh.
Each township has 6 miles. You just count them.
It's 18.
18.
18. 18. Because it's in the corner.
So first thing we need to do is to locate our location. It's right here. This is the southwest corner, right? Southwest corner. So it's right here. So south is in this direction. And west is in this direction. So meaning I'm right here. Now, if I'm west, Tallahassee is on east. So then I need to go to the right. So then I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I am on range 3. If I'm on range 3, there's 2 more to go, and each one has 6. So 6 times 2, 12, plus 6, 18.
Ay,
All right, so we spoke about check. It's a square 24 miles to make corrections, right?
uh-huh,
Check, and it happens every 24 miles.
uh-huh.
Now, here comes a question that could be in your test. So, what is the size of land located on southwest 1/4, of southeast 1/4, of northwest 1/4, of section 12, TS3, or 4E? So then it says here, let me get it here. 1/4 divided by 4. 1/4 divided by 4. 1/4 divided by 4. And 1/4 divided by 4. Then we're gonna have to start with 640 and divide it by 4. 4 times, you got 2.5. Now, second, what is the size of the land on this example? Do we have answers?
Not yet.
Anyone?
Almost.
I think it's 30.
30? Let me put it here. Anybody has a different answer?
1 second. I'm doing it. Okay, my answer is 0.3125.
35.25?
No, 3125. 3125. 0 point.
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I got 0.3 something. Probably 125, yeah. God is probably right.
Okay, I think you are forgetting some important point. Alexa,
Oh, yeah, we are.
Alexa,
Can I try
what are you gonna
again?
tell me?
Do you have one more guess?
What?
Yes. What do you want to tell me?
What 1/4 means?
Divided by 4. What is
Ah,
a quarter of a dollar? 25 cents, right?
I know.
The
But
quarter part.
I thought was some code or something like this. NW divided by 4. North.
Gabriella, I'm waiting for you too, Gabriella. What are you gonna tell me?
I always forget my microphone's not on.
All right. So what are you gonna tell me, Gabriella?
I don't know why, but I got 25.
All right. Nobody knows why they got 0.3.
I'm just saying, I got 25.
Yeah, good. Joseph. Vyacheslav.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here. I've got 25.
Now I got 30.
All right, so remember that the and means plus. Then we have to start over, right? So the first
Oh.
step is always start with 640. Then let me get my arrow here so you guys can follow me. So first step is southeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, of northwest 1/4. Then divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. Then will be 10.
But what is divided by 4? 60-40 acres?
Yeah, the size of a section. The end means plus, then I have to start it again from 640. Then it says here, divide by 2, northwest 1/2, 1/2, then 1/4, then 1/4, then divided by 2, divided by 4, divided by 4, it will be 20. And the total size will be 30. So whoever said 30 is right. Okay?
Okay.
Now, something that we must remember is the size of an acre. Why do we must remember size of an acre? Because we cannot make any calculation with 2 different units. We have to use the same unit. Like if I have $500 and 700 euros, how much money do I have? Can I add 500 plus 700?
In different coins,
Yes.
they value different.
So I cannot, right? The answer is no,
No.
right? Guys, leave your microphone on because I ask one question very simple and I stay here 10 seconds waiting for someone to say something. And it's always Alexander who says, can you help me?
Yes.
Thank you. So I cannot make any type of calculation using 2 different units. So I will have to convert 1 unit. So that's why we need to know the size of an acre. Because if you have any questions, and I'm gonna give you an example, okay? Let me give you an example. Let's say that I have this piece of land here that's 110. 110. Let me change here. 110 by 220 feet. I need to know the size of my lot. What is the size of my lot? Let's say you buy a lot that measures 110 by 220. What is the whole size of the lot?
Calculate here. Is it 24,200?
Square feet.
Okay, how do we do that?
Multiply.
We got 110 times 220. 110 times 220 equal to 24,200. So that's the size of this lot is 24,200 feet. We good? Everybody understand that?
Mm,
Area calculation, okay?
Who doesn't understand that?
Okay, what you did is just multiply 110 by 220.
That's it. You have the front, you have the depth, and then you multiply one by the other, and then you got the full size of a land.
Awesome.
But the full size is not square feet, it's just feet?
Yeah, square feet, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's a square feet.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Who's Gabriel?
Guilherme! It's always start with G.
May I ask you something in Portuguese?
Yes, you may.
O que você falou agora, então é para multiplicar a frente com o fundo, não é? E aí
Isso.
vai dar o
Você vê o
metro
tamanho.
quadrado da casa, do
Exato,
terreno.
exato.
Cálculo de área simples.
Cálculo de área, né? Ok.
Okay. Now, let me change this. Let's say that you have, oops. You have the area, you have the front.
Mhm.
Aham.
And the question is, what is the depth? What do you do?
Divide.
Yes, instead of multiply, you're going to divide to 24,200 divided by 110. It's going to give me 220. We good?
Aham.
Understand?
Okay.
Multiply to find the area. And if you have the area, but it's missing the front or the depth, then you have to divide it to get what is missing. Now, let me make a change here to 240. And let me make a change here to 2 acres. Now, what is the depth?
240 feet.
How come?
Huh?
How come?
You divide 2 acres. That is 2 times 43,500, right?
Uh-huh.
And you divide by 4.
And what is the answer?
Oh, I have no calculator.
363.
Constanza, hold on a second.
What did you say, Guilherme?
363.
All right, we have an answer here for 363. Who else is going to say something? Rafael, what do you think?
Yeah, I
También
got the same, 363.
I got the same, but what I did is convert the 2 acres a square feet.
That's the only way to do that.
Okay, that's what I did.
Joseph, what do you think? It's the size.
Still doing it right now. 1 second.
Gabriela, what do you think?
I'm still working on it.
Vyacheslav,
363.
okay.
I divided 2 acres by 4, and I have 21,078
Why did you divide the 2 by 4?
by 4
Why did you
Because
divide
of-
it by 4?
because of the area. No, I did. Do I need to divide it by 240?
No, this is what you do. If you have 2 acres
Mm.
and every other measurement is in feet, you need to convert acres into feet.
Mm-hmm.
Know
It's 80,
that each acre equals to 43,560, then I have to multiply that by 43560.
Uh-huh. The total is 87,120.
87,120. Then you
Yeah.
divide that by 240.
Ah, 240. 363.
That's what it is.
Okay.
Okay, so guys, the only thing you gotta remember is this number here, 43560. And if you want to make it easy to remember, you have 7, 11, and a donut. Donut.
7-Eleven donut.
Yeah, what did you buy on 7-Eleven? A donut, right?
What is 7?
4 plus 3 is 7. 5 plus 6 is 11.
Oh, got you. Got you. Oh my gosh. 7-Eleven Donald's. Wow. 1 acre.
Yes, 43,506 square feet is 1 acre.
That's a good one.
Yeah, right. That is gonna help you guys remember. 43560, 7-Eleven, and a donut.
Seno A,
Awesome.
cosseno B, seno B, cosseno A.
Huh?
Seno A, cosseno B, seno B, cosseno A. I don't know why I remember that.
All right, now the next one, we will remember that we have 3 surveyor methods. The first one is meets and bounds, which is the distance and directions. The second one is government surveyor method, which is the township and all of that. And the third one is lots and blocks. There's a few things that you guys need to remember about lots and blocks. Number one is that lots and blocks is used for residential area. They don't use government method for residential area, only for other stuffs, maybe farms, things like that. Areas that is not residential, outside the municipality. And the other thing that you need to remember is that they created something to identify every property. That's called the identification number. And there's different names, you know, identification number, folio number. Every property has a folio number. And the folio number is generated after you have the lots and blocks being registered. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Now, every blocks are registered. Remember when we will talk about chapter 1, when the developer does a subdivision, they get there and they make a division. That's why it's called subdivision. So they divide it into blocks, and every blocks they divide it into lots. So there's a block 1 that has 20 lots. Block 2, there's 20 lots. And then it will be B1 lot 3, B1 L4, B2 L5. That's how they do it, right?
Mm.
It's a parcel number. It's how they register, and it can be called parcel number, parcel ID number, or it can be called folio number. Okay, every property has one. Now, common area measurement. So those are the things that you guys are also going to need to memorize.
Sorry.
Okay, the size of an acre, how many square feet in an acre, how many acres in a section, the size and description of a township, and the check. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. We were talking about this. If I have a depth of 150 and the front 50 is 750, what is the size of my lot? Anybody?
112,500.
That's it. 112,500. Just multiply 150 by 750. Okay, and remember that the first dimension always give the front feet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're done chapter 10.
Ooh.
We only have a few things to cover.
Let's do the exercise, the quiz. Or not?
Yeah, we can do that. Let's do the exercise. Let's do the quiz. Alexa, all lights on.
Huh?
Alexa, lights off.
You're talking with your Alexa.
Yeah, with my Alexa, yeah. I wanted more lights here, so I told her to turn on all the lights. done?
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know some of them.
All right, then let's do this. Everybody ready?
Uh-huh.
All right.
Yes.
The northwest 1/4 of the northwest, east 1/4 of the southwest 1/4, section 20, township 4, south, range 2 east. Describe a tract of.
C.
C.
C. Calculate the number of acres containing the following legal description. Which one?
D.
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 In the meets and bounds method of description, which one is the most correct answer?
B.
B.
The government survey method is especially adapted to describing.
A.
A. Lots and platted subdivisions.
C.
Oh, wow. Okay.
C.
Yeah, I told you that residential area lots and blocks are for residential. That's a lot.
Ah,
We talk about government survey method. And I told you the government survey method is more for lands. What is the designation of a township located 3 townships tiers south of the baseline and 5 range east of the principal meridian?
I don't know.
B.
B. All right, let's look at the question. 3 townships south from the base. So then it's gonna have to be T3S because we're going south and we're going 3. And it tells me that it's 5 range east. Then it has to be the R5E.
Oh, yeah. The question gave us the answer.
Of course, yeah. We just have to do what, Alexander? Tell me. What do we have to do to get the correct answer?
Comprehension. Comprehension.
No, we have to.
Mm. What?
Read it.
We have what? Read the full question, yeah.
All right. A check is a square with each side measurement.
C.
24 miles. The tract of land located inside a square formed by intersection range lines and a township line is called.
C section.
Who else?
D. Township.
D.
D.
Township.
Oh, why? Why?
We talk about range and township lines. So the square formed by range and tiers are township. Section is what you found inside the township.
Mm.
The vertical strip of land 6 miles wide, beginning at the principal meridian and extending 6 miles east along the length of the principal meridian is called.
No clue.
A.
Anyone?
A. A.
Range 1 east.
Yeah, range 1 east, because you're going east from the principal meridian. And it says 6 miles, it's the first one. If it says 12, will be the second one. If you have located a township designated as T1N R1E, the township due north of that is which township?
C.
Which one?
C.
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 C. Which statement is false concerning townships?
D. D.
Hmm? In writing a legal description of a section, which is the standard sequence?
Is it C?
B.
Yeah, almost. Always start with the section, then you go to township, and then the range.
Oh,
Makes sense.
The north boundary of section 36, township 1 south, R1 east, is located.
I don't know.
D.
We are on the range 1 west. So we're 5 miles south of baseline. A legal description that reads in part, the north 1/2 of northeast 1/4 of northwest 1/4, section 12, township 42 south, range 12 east, describe a tract of
D.
D, 20 acres.
D.
D, 20 acres. A man owned a northwest 1/4 of a section. He sold the west 1/4 of the northwest 1/2. How many acres does the man still owns?
A man on quarters.
B. 80 acres.
Everybody agree to that? Plat maps used in the Latin box method of legal description shows what?
I think it's B.
A. Okay.
That highlights for chapter 10.
Aye, aye.
Okay, we're gonna start it on page 230. For everybody but Alexandra. $230. Do you see at the end of the page, Alessandra, you can follow that the same. No, you cannot.
No?
You should be able to, because yours is on page 228. Okay? You open 228 and everybody else opens on 230. Okay?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Do you see, guys, at the end of the page, the figure 10.2?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
You guys are going to highlight the figure on the right. Everything. Because
Drawing
that
B.
is to help you guys remember the opposite direction. If I'm on north 45 degrees east, what is the opposite? South 45 degrees west.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all you're gonna highlight. Now, 233 for everybody, and for Alexandra 231. You're gonna highlight the whole figure 10.5. Okay, 235 to everybody, and for Alexandra, 233. You are going to highlight the figure 10.6. The whole thing. 238 to everybody, and 236 to Alexandra.
Say it again.
238 to everybody, and to Alexandra, 236.
238. Okay.
13 through 25
To me,
is the same.
13 to,
25.
okay.
239 to everyone, and to Alexandra, 237.
Mm,
Okay? 1 through 10. Inside the box, right below line 10, you're going to highlight acre and the description of acre. And below that, there's a practice question. You're going to highlight 13, 14, and 15. And that's it.
Okay.
Okay?
okay.
Now, I'm going to have to do, oh, no, it's okay. I think it's okay. No, it's not okay. Not okay. All right. Is it okay that I talk and you don't see me?
Yeah,
Your revenge.
Huh?
Your revenge.
Revenge, huh? But I need to see you.
Yes, that's your revenge. That's okay.
how dare you? Where are you? You
Yeah,
need to
right?
appear.
We got a technical difficulties again. And the only way to fix this technical difficulty
I'm going to call
starting the
FREC.
computer. All right. We're going. Chapter 11. Now, how many questions in chapter 11?
12.
What is the name of this chapter?
Real estate contracts.
Now, help me out.
12 questions.
Why so many questions on chapter 11?
Why? Because the contract is the base of our job.
Yes, you're going to be writing a contract every day,
Yeah.
right? We're going to have to write a contract every day. Now, let me ask you something. Who writes a contract? The agent who represents the buyer, or the agent who represents the seller?
The agent doesn't matter. Can be the buyer or the seller.
No. In general, who prepares the contract is who represents the buyer. Why? Because the buyer is presenting an offer. The seller doesn't present an offer. Who presents an offer is the buyer. The buyer is the one who initiate the transaction.
That's true. Makes sense.
Okay? So, in that case, remember that I was explaining to you about the or and the e, words that ends in or, and the words that ends in e.
Uh-huh.
Who is the or?
Who's gonna
The
receive?
vendor,
Huh? Gabriel?
Who's Gabriel?
is the
Yeah.
seller.
Yeah. Who is the or?
The person is gonna receive the rights.
Almost. You're on the right path, but not exactly. Rafael, who is the or?
I don't know.
Joseph, who is the or?
Sorry, I was looking at something else.
Is this, may I say,
Yes.
the seller?
No. The or is always who gives something. And I'm saying that because we're going to have a lot of ors here. And we need to understand who is the or and who is the e, because sometimes they're not going to say seller or buyer. They're going to say something that will end with the or e. And then you need to know who is giving and who is receiving. Okay? So the or is always who is giving. So now, Guilherme, I'll give you a chance to get that right. Who is the E?
Who's gonna receive
Yeah, now you got it right.
it?
Oh,
Okay?
now I understood what you're talking about.
All right.
The
So,
suffix. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Now, if the buyer is giving an offer, who is the offeror and who is the offeree?
Oh, offer.
The
Okay,
buyer is
sorry.
the
I was,
offeror.
Yeah. Welcome, Joseph.
The
I
buyer
was
is
on the
the
same
offeror.
page.
The buyer is the offeror. And who is the
Yeah.
offeree?
The seller.
the seller.
The seller. Now, is that always like that?
No.
When does it change?
Does it change?
Is the buyer always the offeror and the seller always the offeree? Or it can change?
I don't think they can change.
Okay, good answer. At least you didn't let me stand here waiting 10 minutes to hear something. I don't know works. Does that change or remains the same always?
I think it's changed.
Depends on the contract.
All right, so
Maybe when the seller wants to list the property and with
No.
the broker.
no. Let's say that a house is listed for 500,000 and the buyer is offering 420. Now, as you guys said, the buyer is the offeror and the seller is the offeree, right?
Uh-huh.
The seller didn't like the offer for 420 and decides to counter offer for 460. Does
Now
that
he
mean
is the
anything?
offeror.
Uh-huh. Now the seller becomes the offeror and the buyer becomes the offeree.
Offeree.
Good. So then the position of offeror and offeree can change,
Ah.
right? Always depending on who is presenting an offer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
Let me see what I can. Let me open the slides here. Hold on. All right, so let's start looking at this. Now, what is a contract? A contract is an agreement between two or more parties. Of course, we can have a contract with one person. It's a voluntary agreement or promise between legally competent parties. This is talking about contract in general, not only contracts for real estate. A contract defines each of the parties' legal obligations and rights. Authority of licensees to prepare a contract. Real estate licenses are allowed to assist buyers and sellers with the preparation of 4 types of contracts: listing agreement, buyer brokerage agreement, sell and purchase contract, and an option contract. We're going to talk about some of them. Now, what are the essential elements of a contract? Now we know that a contract is a contractual capacity of the parties. We need to have a competent parties. Question, guys. Is a contract between a minor and an adult a valid contract?
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Everybody says no?
No.
No.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yes.
A contract between a minor and an adult is a valid contract, but it's voidable. What is avoidable? It's a contract that can be void, right? But who can void this contract? The adult or the minor?
The adult.
The minor.
The minor.
Yes. The minor can void the contract and says, you know what? I'm not legal competent. And I signed it by mistake. But the adult is bound to the contract. He cannot cancel the contract. So, going back again, a contract.
Sorry.
All right, a contract between a minor and an adult is a valid contract, but can be void by the minor. Now, we need to have an offer and acceptance, meaning someone is going to make an offer and someone is going to accept the offer. When the buyer and the sellers agree to the price, terms, and conditions of a contract, we say that we have a meeting of the mind. Okay? Now, keep that words. Okay? Meeting of the mind. When do we have a meeting of the mind?
When they have an agreement.
When we have an agreement between buyers and seller over all the terms of the contract, including prices, conditions, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We also have an offer or an offeree, and we already learned that that position can change. We have a consideration. Again, what is a consideration? Anybody?
What do you mean with the consideration?
What is a consideration? We spoke about this on chapter 8.
Money.
The description for a consideration is what are you giving in return of the house, of the property, of the deed.
Money or love.
Okay, what are you giving? That's a consideration. It's what are you giving in return of the property.
Mm-hmm.
And that consideration could be a valuable consideration, which is money or anything that could be converted into money, or it could be a love consideration, or actually good consideration, which is love and affection, right? I can give the house to my daughter and she's not paying me anything, and I'm giving that as a love and affection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does the statute of fraud says again?
Florida.
Statute of fraud. What does it say again?
Enforce about the enforceable.
You're very close. You're warm.
Need to be written. To be enforceable, need to be written.
In writing.
In writing.
Yes. What does the statute of fraud says? It says that to be enforceable, it must be in writing. Or you can say the other way around. You must be in writing in order to be enforced. We don't care how you say it, as long as you know one.
Okay.
Okay?
Makes sense.
What does the statute of limitation say?
Written contract 5 years, oral contracts 4 years.
Yes. Now remember, the synonym for oral is parole. Okay? Because sometimes to confuse you, they're not going to put oral, they're going to put parole, which is the same thing. So the statute of limitations says that any contract in writing must be kept for 5 years, and any auto or parole contract must be kept for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Good? Now, going again to the elements of valid real estate sales contract. We need to have a competent parties. We need to have an offer and acceptance, which is called meeting of the mind. We need to have a legal purpose. It has to be in writing in order to be enforceable. Who says that again?
What?
Instead of fraud.
Yeah, it's on your screen, statute of fraud. And we also need a consideration, which is describing what is being given. Okay? Now, I want to tell you one thing that in general, they put it in your question. They could say that a consideration is also a promise of future money. Okay? A consideration can be also a promise of future money. How are we going to understand this? How can we make it simple to understand? Let's say that the buyer offered $450,000 on the property and the seller accepted. Is the buyer giving the $450,000 now?
No.
No. When is the buyer going to give the $450,000?
Closing day.
The
At
closing
close,
date.
right? At close.
Uh-huh.
So can I say that the offer of $450,000 that was accepted by the seller is a promise of future money?
Yes.
Did I make myself clear now?
Mm-hmm.
So a consideration can be also a promise of future money. You're not giving that now, but you're going to give in the future.
Mm-hmm.
All right, difference between a void contract and a voidable contract. It's very simple. What is a void contract? Anybody tells me, what is a void contract?
Is when the contract is not, there is no validation.
Yes, it's when the contract is void, meaning it can't be enforced
Uh-huh.
because it's void. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So a void contract is a contract that cannot be enforced because it is void. Now, how would you describe a voidable contract?
It's a contract
Contract
that
is not
can be
complete.
fixed.
Void. Void. Not fixed. Void. Right? It's correct definition. A voidable contract is a contract that cannot be no. It's a valid contract that can be void. Okay? That's a void contract. A voidable contract is a contract that can be void. Unenforceable is the contract that is void that cannot be enforced. Now, formal contract and informal contract. A formal contract is in writing. Make it very clear, right? What is a formal contract? It's a contract in writing.
Mm-hmm.
And an informal contract is an oral contract. It's an informal contract. Okay? Now, you see, there's a lot of things here that make sense. There's no need to memorize. And chapter 11, almost 100% of the entire chapter 11 is to memorize. Is to understand. Now, the difference between a bilateral contract and unilateral contract. Now, let's think about what is bilateral contract and unilateral contract is so we can understand this. A bilateral contract is a contract between two or more parties. How about a unilateral contract?
Just one.
I say that just to trick you. We cannot have a contract with one person only, can we?
Yeah, you said that.
Yes, we can.
We cannot.
I was going to ask you because you can't have a contract with just one person.
No, we
What?
cannot.
Yeah.
How can I have a contract with myself?
Because when you do an obligation or you do a will,
No,
it's
a
a contract.
No, a contract is always between two or more parties. Right? A marriage is a contract, right?
Right.
Well, requires two persons.
Yeah.
So unilateral contract and bilateral contract is also between two or more parties. The difference is that the bilateral contract, both parties are obligated to perform. On the unilateral contract, only one person is obligated to perform. Okay, let's put an example here. What do you think? Is a purchase and sales contract a bilateral contract or a unilateral contract?
Bilateral.
It's a bilateral contract, meaning the buyer and the seller are obligated to perform.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, a unilateral contract, only one party is obligated to perform. And let me give you an example so you guys understand. Let me go here and let me open. Is it clear so far?
Mm-hmm.
Did I leave anybody behind?
No, I think so.
All right, good. Now let's create an example here. The option contract, to make it simple to understand, is the same thing as we saying rent with an option to buy. We good?
Uh-huh.
So when you hear the word option contract, we might get a little lost, but we're not lost anymore, because when you hear option contract, you know that it's a renting with an option to buy.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a contract very easy to find, because the seller always wants to sell and turn the page of that part of his life and started a new one. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Seller wants the money and will buy the house or will do whatever what he wants with the house. In general, the seller doesn't want it to rent with an option to buy. But right now, the luxury market in Miami is slow. The apartments in Sunny Isles or in other luxury part in front of the beach are not selling as fast as it used to sell. What happened in this scenario is that the seller, it's also renting, because it's better to have someone paying a rent that will help
Mm-hmm.
him to pay the HOA and will help him to pay the property taxes than to have the apartment empty. In that case, the seller will be willing to rent instead of only selling. So if the seller is renting, there's a possibility that the seller will accept an offer to rent with an option to sell. What is the name of the contract for this?
A lease to own.
Option contract.
Option contract, yeah, option to buy.
Option contract is the renting with a option to buy. Now, a few things needs to happen. Let's say that the guy wants a $1.6 million. The buyer says, Mr. Seller, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna rent your property for $5,000 a month. You want $5,000 a month. I will pay you $5,000 a month. Okay? But $500 goes towards my deposit. Meaning you're gonna keep $4,500 for the rent. But $500 you're gonna put towards my deposit. Also, Mr. Seller, I'm gonna give you $25,000 deposit. And also, Mr. Seller, I promise you to pay $1.5 million to your property in 1 year from now. Now we establish a option contract because we have a consideration, which is $1.5 million, promise for future money. We also have a deposit and we have the time frame, 1 year. You cannot have an option contract that says, oh, Mr. Seller, I will pay you $1.5 million whenever. It cannot be whenever. We have to establish a date. Okay? Now, comes my question to you. Who is the optioner and who is the option?
Optioner is the guy is renting the tenant.
Tenant
And
or
optionee is
future
the owner of the house.
buyer. And the optionee is the seller.
Seller.
No,
No?
no. I just wrote it down. But this is the right position for this. The optioner is the seller. He's the one who is giving an option. Because remember, in this scenario here, just for you guys don't be confused, in this scenario here, let me change the color. It happens all the time. In this scenario here, this is an offer that the tenant and future buyer is giving. It's an option. It's an optional. It's an offer. If the seller accepts the offer, then the seller will give them the option. So if the seller is giving the option, then the seller is the optioner, and the tenant or future buyer is the optionee.
Right.
Now, again, this is an example of let me move this thing here, down here. So when I do this, you all can see it. So this is an example of a unilateral contract. Are you guys with me? This is an example of unilateral contract. Now, I told you guys that unilateral contract, it's a contract between two or more parties where only one part is obligated to perform. Now comes my question. Who is the party that is obligated to perform? The seller or the future buyer?
The seller.
Anybody else?
I don't know, because I didn't understand exactly what it means.
The optionee has an option, not obligation. The optioner has an obligation.
Which part?
But the optionee has to pay.
Which part you didn't understand, Guilherme?
Because who gave this option, like 5,000?
That's not an option. That's an offer.
It's an offer from the tenant.
But the tenant gave him this
Yes.
offer, right?
Yes, and if he accepted, then he will give them the option. So then makes the seller the optioner, because the seller is the one who's giving the option. Okay, I will give you the option for you to rent my apartment and buy it in 1 year. You understand? This is the optioner is the seller. The seller is the one who is giving the option. And the optionee is receiving the option and accepting it. Okay? Now, go back to the question. Who is the party obligated to perform? The optionee or the optioner?
The optionee has to decide and pay, right?
Yeah, he already gave an offer. If the seller accepted, now we have an option contract.
Right.
When we write the option contract, is the seller giving the buyer the option to rent and to buy in 1 year. That
Yeah.
makes the seller the optionor. And who is obligated to perform? The optionor or the optionee? The seller
The op-
or the future buyer?
The optionor.
The optionor is the party obligated to perform. Okay? Why? Let's think about
Yeah.
it. Let's think
I'm
about it.
lost.
Let's think about it. Why he's the party obligated to perform. Now, let me get this here. Now, remember,
Because to buy the house is an option, is faculdade, is not obligation for the buyer. But the seller offer the situation of the guy buy the house after 1 year. So now he cannot give up. He is obligated to make a deal.
yes, yes, it's basically that. Now, think about this. The buyer is signing an option on this condition here. Now, the buyer is preparing his credit, money for the down payment. He has 1 year to get everything ready. He's also giving an extra $500 every month for deposit. What if tomorrow someone comes and offers the seller $1.6 million? Do you think it will be fair to the buyer and say, hey man, you have to get out of my house because I'm selling for 1.6 a better offer?
No, he can't.
The seller is always the one obligated to perform. The buyer, no. The future buyer, it's not obligated to perform. Of course, if the buyer decides not to buy, then the buyer will lose his deposit.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's not going to excuse the buyer from losing his deposit. But the seller must perform. The seller cannot change his mind. In 1 year from now, if the buyer is ready to do the transaction, the seller needs to sell. We good?
Too lost.
Isso é igualzinho o contrato de sinal no Brasil. Se você não fecha, você é um comprador, você não é obrigado a comprar, mas você perde o sinal. Mas o vendedor tem que manter o contrato e vender do jeito que tá.
Mhm.
Igualzinho.
I know that.
Oh.
I understood that. But by the end of the contract, deciding and eventually paying, isn't that performing?
Yeah. What was the question again? He is performing. Both of them, if the buyer doesn't give up on his idea to buy it, he will perform, but he's not obligated to perform.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here is not only the word perform, is the word obligated.
Ah, now I got it.
Okay?
Okay. Now it's clear for me.
All right. It's clear to everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I move to the next subject?
Yes.
And you know what the next subject is?
Yeah.
Hold on. Next subject is
Recreio.
recreio, ótimo.
You are right. Next subject is break. All right. Now, it's 8:07. We'll be back at 8:37. But please, don't come back at 8:37. I always give you guys half an hour. But people come back 5 minutes after. I will start at 8:37, okay?
Okay.
So be here at 8:37.
Okay, see you. sono.
Depois do intervalo assim, né? Dá um soninho.
Nossa, essa hora. Eu acordo todo santo dia, 5h30, 6 horas, para fazer ginástica, né? Para correr, para fazer o que for. Aí, quando dá 7h30, 8 horas, eu já acabei. Aí, pronto. Aí, criança para a escola, enfim. Essa hora eu tô morta. Eu trabalho o dia inteiro, o dia inteiro, o dia inteiro.
Eu acordo muito cedo. Não tem jeito. Não, aconteça o que aconteça,
Mas o
5h30, 6 horas eu tô acordando.
o dia flui melhor, né? Quando a gente
É,
acorda cedo.
isso.
Parece que
Eu
a
acho
gente
bom.
se adianta, não é? Em relação às outras pessoas.
É verdade.
Eu tenho essa sensação.
O duro é que chega essa hora começa a ficar.
Não, chega essa hora, eu tô morta, entendeu?
É.
Tô morta. Eu acabo a aula, eu só faço escovar os dentes, colocar a camisola e deitar.
Direto.
Direto pra cama, porque eu não
Tipo,
aguento.
sai da minha
Entendeu?
frente, né?
Eu não aguento. Você trabalha em quê?
Eu trabalho com tecnologia,
Ah, eu sou
gestão de
advogada.
projetos.
Eu sou advogada, mas tem um ano que eu estou na Bolsa de Valores, né? E a Bolsa suga
Você falou,
muito também.
lá no Brasil ou aqui, Bolsa?
Daqui, da NYSE, daqui. Eu estou muito feliz, sabe?
Que
Estou
legal.
muito satisfeita, estou tendo, assim, retorno legal. Mas você tem que estudar muito, né? Tem que se dedicar demais, assim. E é uma coisa que você vai crescendo, 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 e aí você vai mergulhando mais ainda. E toma tempo, sabe?
É isso mesmo.
Toma tempo. Eu só não larguei meu trabalho ainda porque eu tenho muito processo em curso, então eu tenho responsabilidade, não posso largar, percebe?
Exato.
É como se eu fosse engenheira e tivesse um monte de obra que já começou.
Não pode,
Eu
assim.
não posso largar no meio, entendeu?
Uhum. Minha esposa é
Mas...
advogada, eu sei bem como que é.
Oi?
Minha esposa foi advogada por muitos
Pois
anos.
você começa um processo, você tem que dar fim naquilo, né? Então, mas eu tô muito... Você tá na bolsa também aqui?
Não, não mexo, não. Nunca me meti.
Nossa, é muito bom.
Eu não vou nem começar, porque senão eu sei que eu vou gostar.
O quê? Você vai se apaixonar. Se eu, que sou ruim em matemática, estou indo super bem, imagina você que é bom de matemática.
O problema é esse, vai ser racional demais.
Cara, só tem 2 classes de pessoas no mundo. Os 2% da população mundial que estão na Bolsa e o resto que somos nós, pobres mortais, entendeu? O resto esquece. Não adianta, sabe? Por isso é que eu estou mergulhando muito, porque eu já percebi que o negócio é sério, assim, sabe? Que demanda muito estudo, porque você tem que saber o que está fazendo, né?
É fácil fazer uma bobeira também, né? Se não ficar
Não, se você não
muito
sabe o que
atento.
está fazendo, se você não sabe o que está fazendo, você está lascado.
É,
É
né?
a mesma coisa que dirigir, sabe? Você tem que fazer autoescola, treinar pra caramba, porque se você pegar o carrozinho sem fazer autoescola, você vai morrer, né?
Dirigir perto de casa primeiro.
Com certeza. Você está há muito tempo aqui?
2 anos. Pouco
Eu tô
tempo.
3, pouco tempo também.
Também, pouco tempo também.
Eu tô ganhando com vocês.
Você tá com 32. Você falou 32, não falou no começo?
Você é Matusalém, Matusalém.
Poxa, aí, ó, tá vendo? Matusalém, olha só que coisa.
De tempo.
160 anos.
Mas eu gosto muito daqui, gente. Muito.
Eu tô curtindo também.
Eu gosto muito. Eu tenho 2 filhos aqui. Um está na faculdade aí em Miami, está fazendo economia, e a outra ainda está no 6th grade, né, aqui em Orlando. Mas eu gosto muito, muito, muito. A gente se adapta logo ao que é bom, né?
O que é bom, a gente se adapta muito fácil. Difícil é você
Muito.
voltar para o Brasil e começar a ver as coisas como ela lá, depois que você se adaptou aqui.
Não, é difícil. Olha, eu tenho que ir ao Brasil, de qualquer jeito, né? Eu tenho que ir, mas eu fico enrolando. É sério. Aí meu filho essa semana, mãe, você tem que ir lá. Não sei o que. Eu falei, meu filho, peraí, calma, vamos ver. Vou ver um dia. Eu fico enrolando, porque eu não tenho a mínima vontade de ir lá. E olha que eu tenho 1000 coisas para resolver lá, entendeu? Infelizmente, né, a realidade do nosso país, nosso lindo país.
Eu voltei pro Brasil depois de 7 anos que estava aqui, tomei um choque. Tomei um
Then
choque.
face.
Encontrar as casas tudo no embolso,
É uma
tijolo
coisa horrorosa
aparecendo,
mesmo.
o
E
pessoal na
posso falar
rua
uma
sem
coisa?
camisa.
Posso falar uma coisa? Sem necessidade. Porque o próprio morador, ele sabe botar um embolsozinho, fazer uma pinturazinha. Porque se você for na casa deles, tem tudo. Tem geladeira, tem televisão. Às vezes eles têm até carro. É coisa mesmo de cultura, entendeu?
A casa do vizinho é assim.
Aí a outra e fica tudo assim. É uma coisa horrorosa.
Ok. Estamos prontos?
Vamos lá.
Então vamos continuar.
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
Joseph, don't sleep.
Joseph, where are you? No Brasil a gente dizia assim, dá um sorriso pra gente ver, velho. Dá um sorriso aí.
Sorry, I had my phone on mute. I'm here.
All right.
Whew. I was eating some jerk
Claudia,
chicken.
I see your hands.
I see
Gabriela,
hands,
cadê
Claudia's
você,
hand.
Gabriela? Gabriela, cadê você, Gabriela?
She's gone.
Yes, she's gone.
Eu tô aqui.
Eu
No,
tô
you're not.
aqui, tá vendo? Ninguém vê a Gabriela e a
Com a minha
Cláudia.
mãe. Então, tipo, ela tá fazendo aula, eu tô fazendo aula, tem dois conversando, é difícil.
Ah, por isso que eu chamei você, para saber se você tá aqui para poder começar.
Yeah.
Ah, então tá
I'm
bom.
here.
Então a gente já sabe tudo sobre bilateral and unilateral contract.
Yes.
Okay, now, express versus implied. Express is anything that you have written in a contract. It's expressed in the contract.
Mhm.
And implied, the word says it all. Everybody understands. It doesn't have to be in writing. Everybody understands. Example, Guilherme last week was almost arrested in a bar. Wasn't that right, Guilherme?
Me? No.
Because Guilherme got into a bar and he ordered a drink. And then he drank it, and then he ordered another one, and then he got up and left. And then people went after him. Hey, come on, man. Why are you leaving? You got to pay for it. But why should I pay? There's no sign on your bar that says that if I drink, I must pay. That's an example of what?
Implied.
Implied. Yeah, it's implied. You don't have to have a sign in a restaurant say if you sit down and eat before you go, you have to pay for it. You know that you have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
Now, an example related to real estate is that you hire someone to paint your house outside. You don't have to express in writing the type of paint that he's going to use. He knows that has to be an external paint because he's going to paint the outside of the house. It cannot be an internal paint.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between express contract and implied contract. Now, executory versus executed contract. Now we're going to learn something that is very common in our industry, and it's a misconception. When we have buyers and sellers agreeing on the contract, how do we call this contract? Executed contract because both parties signed. Is that how we call it? Executed contract?
Executory contract.
I have some agents and even brokers. They call me and say, "Do you have the executed contract?" That is a misconception. We need to understand sometimes what is executed means. If I tell you that a journalist was executed by a group of terrorists, what do you think that terrorist is?
Cancel the contract.
He's
Cancel.
dead, right?
Yeah.
He's dead. Executed means that.
Yeah.
If you just have the buyer and the seller to agree on the price, terms, and condition, you just gave birth to your contract and you call
Oh,
it
yeah.
executed. You call it dead.
Yeah.
Executed contract is when you perform, both parties perform. Buyer did everything the buyer needs to do, seller did everything the seller needs to do. We are on the closing table, buyer brings the money, seller signs the deed. Now contract is dead. There's nothing else to do with that contract because we executed.
Yeah, the name ED at the end is passed. It's already passed. The contract is passed. It's done.
Yeah. So executory is a contract that you just gave birth. When the buyer and the seller agree to the price, terms, and condition, you have an executory contract. What is an executory contract means? It means that buyer has something that buyer must do, some tasks that the buyer must perform. The seller also has some tasks that the seller must perform until we're ready to close. Example, buyer needs to apply for the loan, buyer needs to order a appraisal, buyer needs to order an inspection. And in the contract, the buyer said, Mr. Seller will buy your property if you fix the garage door. Then the seller must fix the garage door. So that's why we have both parties with tasks that they must perform before we close. Now we understand the difference between executed contract and executory contract.
One is before closing, and the other is after closing.
Yes. Now, contract negotiation, that's the best part of it. Okay? It's when you are negotiating all the price, terms, and conditions on the contract. So first thing, we submit an offer, which is the first step of our negotiation. You send an offer. Then the seller maybe send a counter offer, and then you send another counter offer. This process of negotiation, okay? Then you have the offer, and you have the offeror and the offeree, and we already agreed that it can change places, okay? Now, every time that someone's placed a counter offer, it kills the original offer,
Okay.
okay? A counter offer kills the original offer. Now, what are the ways to terminate an offer? How can I terminate an offer? The first one is by acceptance, right? If the buyer places an offer and the sellers accept the offer, then there's no more offer. What do we have now?
We have an acceptance.
What is it called? We have
Agreement.
do we have a contract? Do we have a contract now?
We have executory contract.
Yes. Do you forget about executory and executed? Do we have a contract?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
What is missing, Guilherme?
both need to sign.
Well, when they agree, they sign.
Yeah, can be oral.
The agreement is expressed by their signatures. So, in general, we could say it is a contract because an offer is written in a contract. When both parties signs, then it's not an offer anymore. Now it's a contract. But we cannot say a contract. We need to learn the right way, especially because we are facing a test ahead of us. There's one thing missing to this contract becomes a real contract. And what is missing is communication. Okay? You need to communicate to all the parties that we have a contract. Let's give an example. Guilherme is buying the house from Rafael. Okay? So
Okay.
I represent Guilherme and Alexandre represents Rafael. Guilherme sent me an offer and I send it to Alexandre. Alexandre sent an offer to Rafael. Rafael counters offer and send it to Alexandre. Alexandre sends the counter offer to me. I send it to Guilherme. Now, Guilherme accepted the offer. Once Rafael signs, he is the last one to sign the contract. Do we have a contract now?
Yes.
No,
No.
because Rafael still don't know.
Ah.
We
Okay.
have to communicate to have a
Okay.
contract. And the best form of communication is send the contract signed by Guilherme to Alexandra so Alexandra can give it to Rafael. Okay? So what do we need to have a contract? Number one is acceptance, meeting of the mind. Everybody signs. Number two, communicate. I need to communicate to the other party that the contract was accepted. And the best form of communication is by sending a copy of a contract. Okay? Now, going back to ways to terminate an offer. We draw by the offeror. Before you accept, the offeror can send you an email and say, I'm canceling my offer. Insanity. If you prove insanity, you cancel the offer. Lapse of time. This is one thing, guys, that I'm going to tell you for your test and much more for your life. There's one thing in contract that's called time is of the essence. Meaning you cannot sleep on the dates. There are many dates on a contract that you need to observe and follow, not to exceed that date. Because if that date exceeded by your fault, the buyer is the one who's going to suffer, and the buyer can sue you for that. I'll give you an example. I got a phone call from an agent at 6:00 p.m. And she told me that the bank is not ready for closing. And the seller did not sign an extension. Actually, she didn't even mention extension. She just said that the bank did not accept, it did not approve the loan yet. And then I asked her, when is the contract due date? When we were supposed to close? She told me today. Now, do we have a problem?
Yes, because the bank
Yeah.
didn't approve yet.
Do you think that the buyer is going to lose his deposit?
It's definitely going to come after it.
Why would the seller come off for the
Because-
for the deposit?
Well, perhaps they feel that they lost time on the market or they lost another deal.
But does the seller has the right for their money? Remember, the bank is not ready.
If the bank is not ready, then I mean, I don't, and actually, let me be quiet because it might be different there. I was going to say that if the bank says they're not ready, I guess they're protected by the financial contingency.
All right. So, guys, we do have a lot of things that we need to take care of. It's not like danger. It's not complicated. It's like the example you gave, Alexandra, when you were talking to Rafael. It's like driving. You know, when you know what to do, you can drive, eat, drink, and talk to the person next to you and sing with the radio. Becomes natural, right?
Yeah.
But you need to pay attention of all those things. What happened is this. The contract expired today, so today we were supposed to close. She should know 5 days prior today, 5 days ago, that the bank was not going to be ready to close. Then she needs to ask for an extension for the contract 5 days before the closing date. Because there might be a trouble to find the seller to sign. You send it to the agent, and then the agent tells you, no, but the buyer is out of town, and it's been hard for me to reach the seller. So it might take some time. So you don't want to do that at the day of closing. You want to do that 5 days before the closing, So you have still 5 days to contact the seller, have the seller sign the extension, and everybody's okay. But this is the buyer's agent problem, not the selling agent. The buyer's agent problem. She didn't do it. She didn't do it 5 days, not even at the day of the closing. She did not prepare the extension of the contract to submit to the seller. Now, she told me this, well, it's contingent upon buyer being approved by the loan. And he's not approved, but he's also not denied. You understand that?
Uh-huh.
The bank is just not ready to close, but the bank did not deny the loan. Now, what she should do, if the seller does not give an extension, is ask the bank a denial letter and submit a denial letter at least at the day of closing, so the buyer will not lose his deposit.
Yeah.
Now, it's 6 o'clock today, 6 o'clock. Today is the closing date. Now, if she gets a denial letter tomorrow, is that going to help?
No.
No, because the day was today, not tomorrow. Now, if the seller says, you know what, I'm not going to give an extension, and I'm going to go for the deposit. And that happens a lot. So then the buyer is going to lose a deposit. Number one, do you think it's fair that the buyer loses a deposit because you slept on the date?
No.
No, it's not fair. Now think about this, the responsibility that we have in our job. There's people that they, $10,000 is nothing. But for some other people, $10,000 is everything they have. All the money that they saved to buy the house. And now they're living a dream that they're going to buy a house with that $10,000 that took them so long to save it. And now they're going to lose the $10,000 because you slept on the date. What do you think the buyer's going to do?
Go after the sales associate or the broker.
He's going to go after to his agent, the buyer's agent. He's going to sue the buyer's agent for the money. And there's a chance that, 100% chance, that he will lose in court. Because those processes we learn in school just a little bit. I always go an extra mile on the subject just to give you guys a big picture of it. Not just come here and show you all of these things here and doesn't create a link for you guys to understand the big picture. And I'm going to show you something. Let me stop the sharing. And I'm going to show you a contract. So we're going to take a look at it. This is to make it clear for you guys about contracts. And it's not required by FREC to show the contract. Contract. Okay, now I'll bring this to here. I'm going to share my screen first. Let me go back here. Do you see that?
Uh-huh.
Now, this is an example of as-is contract. To begin with, I'm going to talk to you about the difference between the two contracts that we have. One is called as-is contract, and the other one is called standard contract. I can use both. But today, 95% basically of all real estate transactions are done through as-is contract because it protects better the buyer. And once you are the one who's representing the buyer and you are the one who prepares the contract, you are the one who's going to choose what contract you're going to use it. And then once you know that the as-is is better, then this is the one you're going to pick to help the buyer. But let's understand the difference. Why this one he protects the buyer better and the standard contract doesn't. The first thing that we need to understand for your test, a lot of things we're going to talk here about the career, your real estate career. And some of the things that we're going to talk, it's about your test. So this that I'm going to tell you is about your test. What do you understand by as is?
The way it is.
Yes. The legal definition of as is what you see is what you get. Okay? what you see is what you get. But that's for your test and also for your life as well. That does not excuse the seller from disclosing material defect that affect the value of the property. Remember on chapter 4 that we said that we must disclose material defect.
Clarity.
Huh?
The one about clarity.
No, chapter 4, one before.
Okay, okay. One before it.
When we were talking about the
Yeah.
relationship, no brokerage, transaction
Mhm.
brokerage, and single agent.
Yes.
One of the duties that we owe to all relationship is disclose all material facts that affects the value of the property. If as is means what you see is what you get, can I then hide the material defects?
No.
No. No. Okay? As is contract does not excuse the seller from disclose material facts that affect the value of the property. That's the first thing we need to know about as is contract. Okay? Now, there's another thing about the as is contract and the standard contract. Let me start with the standard contract. On the standard contract, the seller agrees to contribute to some money toward repairs. Okay? When I'm preparing the contract, I know that I'm going to order inspection. And I know that there might be something on the inspection, you know, maybe the AC coil needs to be cleaned, or there is no the how do you call it again? The disposal. The kitchen disposal is not working. We know that maybe there's some things that needs to be repaired. And then when I'm preparing a contract, if it's a standard contract, I'm going to put in a contract. Sellers agree to contribute up to $5,000 towards repairs. Alexandre, assim você vai dormir. Okay, do you understand that? The standard contract, I will put it that the sellers agree to contribute up to $5,000 towards repairs. On the as-is contract, the seller doesn't agree to contribute to anything. There is no clause on this contract that says that the seller will contribute to any money towards repairs. But that does not keep us from go back to the negotiation table. Let's say that they found $5,000 repair. Needs to replace the AC, and the AC is going to cost $5,000 to be replaced. And the buyer says, you know, guys, I don't want to buy this property because I'm going to have to spend $5,000. Now, we can go back to the seller, even though the seller did not agree to pay anything, and renegotiate. Hey, Mr. Seller, look, we have a problem with the AC. Do you agree to pay to repair the AC? Now, I want you to understand why the majority of the people choose as-is contract. I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to choose Gabriela. Cadê você? Gabriela, cadê você?
I'm here. I always forget to unmute myself.
All right, Gabriela, you are the speaker of the house.
Oh, God.
Okay, you are the speaker of the house. Every class, I appointed one student to be the speaker of the house, and you were chosen.
Okay.
Now, we have a right to inspect the property. The contract gives the buyer a right to inspect the property. But only the as-is contract gives me this. If I highlight, can you see that I'm highlighting something?
Yes, in blue.
All right, speaker of the house, please read the highlight.
It says, if the buyer determines in buyer's sole discretion that the property is not acceptable to buyer may terminate this contract by delivering written notice of such election to the seller prior to expiration of inspection period.
Now, this clause here, we only find on the as-is contract, and that creates a window or an exit door for the buyer. let's say the buyer ordered an inspection, and even though the house looks okay, looks very nice, looks beautiful, the inspection comes and say, you know what, you have a leaking on the roof, and to replace the roof is going to cost you $15,000, right? So the seller, the buyer will just cancel if he does that within the inspection period. Now look at this. Buyer shall have, if left blank, 15 days. Okay, in general, we put here how long. Let's say 15. Okay, so I put here 15, and this 15 is how many days the buyer has to do the inspection period and make a decision. Either I'm going to pursue with the purchase or I'm going to cancel the contract. If past 15 days, the buyer doesn't cancel the contract, now he can use that anymore. Okay, so now the window closes. After 15 days, the window closes. But during these 15 days, the buyer can look at the report. And if anything happens to the buyer also, the buyer can cancel the contract. Does he have to have to give an explanation?
He has the
That's
inspection.
written.
No, he doesn't have to give an explanation. He just have to
No.
give a written notice of his decision, but no explanation. Okay? He can just say, you know what? I want to cancel this contract. I'm exercising my right on the inspection period to cancel the contract, and I'm canceling. That's it. The seller
Okay.
can ask, why are you canceling? I don't want to disclose. And he doesn't
Okay.
have to.
Okay, awesome.
Okay? This is one good thing about the as-is contract, because that creates another door for the buyer. If he decides to cancel the contract, he has an option here to do it. Okay? Now, let's go back to the beginning and look at those dates. Now, look at here. Parties. We're going to put the seller and the buyer's name. Okay? Just to have, you have an idea. Buyer and seller's name. Now, description of the property. Street address, right? We're going to put the address, located in which county, and the Texas ID. Property tax ID is what we were talking at the end of chapter 10. End of chapter 10, we said lots and blocks, right? They created something called parcel number or identification number or folio number. That's what you're going to put here. You see, we're learning something. You remember Karate Kid? Mr. Miyagi tells Daniel-san to paint the fence. After 1 week painting the fence, Daniel-san is upset. I'm leaving. I'm not going to stay here. Then Mr. Miyagi comes and says, Daniel-san, paint the fence. And then he realized that he was painting the fence, but he was learning something. The same thing here. We will talk about chapter 10. Now we look at the contract and you see that you learn something that you can be using here. Now, look at another thing here that we also learn on chapter 10.
Legal description.
Now, can I put the address here where it says legal description?
No.
No, I have to put the legal description. Now, where is the best place to find a legal description?
In
The
the chapter
deed.
9.
The deed. Yeah.
Deed.
Deed. Right? That's the best place to find the legal description. And then you're going to put it here. Now you're connecting the dots and you're making things more clear. Okay? Now, says here, other personal property items included on this item. Remember when we talk about fixture? Yeah, but this here, it's not about fixture. This is about personal property. Let's say that he's going to leave the sofa behind. Then we put it here. The sofa is included on the purchase.
Or ping pong table.
Now look at this one here. The following items are excluded from the purchase. Now, the seller said at the beginning that he's going to take the chandelier. The buyer knows that he's gonna take the chandelier, but he didn't put it here. Now we have to come here and put the chandelier is excluded from the contract. So the day of the closing, when the buyer goes do the walkthrough and he doesn't find the chandelier, he's not gonna fight about it because it's in the contract that the chandelier is not included. Now, remember when we were talking about the refrigerator sub-zero? That's what we're gonna put in here. The refrigerator is sub-zero. So the seller takes it, he's gonna have to bring it back because you put it on a contract. That's how we make a contract to protect the buyer, right?
So that they replace it, the refrigerator subject
Yes,
to
to a GE.
GE.
Now, let's say that you are offering 420. $452, I don't care. Now, tell me, what is this number here on purchase price? What is this number here on purchase price? Rafael, you know that. Say that.
That's the accepted offer.
No, that's the offer that is being made right now. But how do we call this? A
Consideration.
promise of future money,
money.
which is also consideration,
I told you.
right? It's also consideration. I'm gonna give you $452,000 in exchange of your deed. You're gonna give me the deed. And this is also a promise of future money. Okay? Now, remember that we were talking about the 3 things that must be on the contract about who is holding the money, the escrow agents. We must have the name of the escrow agents, the address, and the phone number, right?
Yes.
Now you see that in the contract, we have email or fax. Is that a problem if I don't put an email? If I leave it blank?
No.
No, it's not required.
Is that a problem if I leave the fax blank?
No.
No.
No, because it's not required by law. Required by law is what? Name, address, and phone number. Now, you saw something on the chapter, and now you see here. Okay? Now, we come here. Let me change here. The next part of this is here. Now, I'm going to give the seller, let's say today is the 21, right? So I'm giving the buyer until 3 days. So 10, 25, 2020. Do you see the number here? It's a little smaller, but you see it, right? Now, I'm giving the offer of $452,000 to the seller. In general, I will give him 3 days to answer. Either he's going to accept it or he's going to
deny.
He can reject the offer or he can accept the offer. Right? Now, why do I give them 3 days? This is not for your test. This is for your life. Why do I give him 3 days? Joseph.
Yep.
Why do I give him only 3 days?
Because, I mean, you have to give them the period.
But why 3 days? Why not 20?
Because it calls for 3 days.
No, you can put any number you want. The reason why we put it 3 days, that's not test. Okay, guys? That is life. I'm giving you a tip for life. If you give the seller too much time, he's going to grab your offer, put it aside, and he's going to sit down waiting for a better offer to come.
And then collect other offers.
Yeah, he's going to be waiting for another offer better than yours to come. And your offer will not expire because you gave them 20 days. That's why I give them 3 days. If he decides to answer on the 25th and the buyer decides not to accept it, the buyer doesn't have to, because time is of the essence, and this is one of the time on a contract. So the seller
I have
can
a question.
yes.
I have a question. If the seller accepts the offer, is the buyer obligated to make a deal?
Yes. That's why we never put more than one offer for one buyer, unless he's willing to buy those 2-3 properties.
Oh, yeah.
I have buyers that comes and say, well, I like these 3 properties here. I wanted to put an offer in one of the 3s, on all of these 3s, and whatever accepted is the one I'm going to buy. Do I do that?
You shouldn't.
No, I
Oh.
shouldn't. Because if the 3 of them decided to accept it, the buyer is going to have to buy 3 of them or lose the deposit.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Well,
Right.
those are 3 commissions for you on the bright side.
Yeah, no, because he's not going to actually buy it.
Yeah.
It could be. Now, there's another date that is important on a contract, which is the closing date. Okay? What do we put it on the closing date? In general, in the closing date, I put this. You see on over there, on. Then I put on or before. Then I give them, let's say, 30 days. 11/25/2020. Okay? I always put this on or before 11 November 25th, 2020. So I got 30 days. Now, if I know on the 20th that the bank is still not ready for closing, what should I do?
Ask the bank or deny letter.
Well, first, I'm going to try to get the extension from the seller.
Uh-huh.
First, I'm going to try to get an extension from the seller. If the seller gives an extension for 10 days, now I have another 15 days. So when another 10 days pass, I will be 5 days from closing. I'm going to check with the bank again. We're ready to close. If the seller doesn't give me an extension, then I ask the lender, the bank, a denial letter, and I will submit the denial letter. And this is what I do, guys. I never ask for an extension by itself. Only send an extension. Why? There's one problem in our industry. I describe our job. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. I describe our job in one way. We are facilitating a transaction. That's what we're doing. We are facilitating a transaction to work between buyer and seller to facilitate a transaction. That's how it should be done. But unfortunately, in our industry, we have some agents that they are so obnoxious that they believe they have the power of attorney from the seller, and they answer all the questions from the seller. You send them a extension letter, and they call you and say, no, I'm not going to give an extension letter. Say, come on. Did you send it to the seller? So I don't like this type of confrontation. It's not that I don't like confrontation. It's that's for me, it's stupid. And I don't react very well with the stupidity. And then to avoid that type of conversation, I send the extension letter with the denial letter. If he calls me and says, I'm not going to give an extension, no problem. This is the denial letter. I'll take my buyer somewhere else. And good luck selling your property.
Mm-hmm.
Blue pill and red pill.
Yes. Take the blue pill and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Now,
Thank you for sharing with us this.
no problem.
This is very good, yeah.
we'll try to keep your minds open for the business. That's why I said at the beginning that this is more like a real estate seminar than a 60 hours for you to take your exam.
Yeah.
We need to know how to negotiate, how to deal with agents. There are some people, guys, it's unbelievable. There are some people that's so nice to deal with, but some other people are so nasty that their life is so miserable that they want to make your life miserable as well.
Uh-huh.
Look, I've been dealing to some sellers that they are very stubborn and it's very hard to convince them to lower the price. And I tell them, look, guys, there is no magic to sell a house. There is a strategy, not magic.
Yeah.
And the strategy is only one strategy. You listen to the market. And then I talk to like that with the seller. And he looks at me like I'm crazy. How are you going to listen to the market? It's very simple. I'm going to list your property. And if during 3 weeks, we have no showing request, the reason is only one. Price is too high.
Yeah.
Then we need to drop the price. And then we waited 2 weeks. If we have no showing requests, we're going to drop the price again until we have
Offers?
until we start having offers. No, showing requests.
Okay, showing.
Because there's another step, Rafael. If I start showing the property, that doesn't mean I'm going to get an offer. Maybe some people will get to the property, they won't like it.
Yeah.
Now it's not about the price that people doesn't want to see, but it's the price that people doesn't want to buy. They don't like what they see. Then they don't put an offer. Then we're going to have to start the process of lowering the price again. Some sellers understand that. Some sellers doesn't understand that. I'm dealing with one seller now. I'm trying to sell him a property here in Sunny Isles. And he came to me and said, Arlindo, I want you to tell me what to do and for how much I need to list my property. I'm relying on you to help me to come up with the price. I love to work with this seller.
Yeah.
Because number one, I was able to gain his trust. Now he believes in me.
Yeah.
But it's not only about what you're going to say, but how you prove that you're right with your opinion. Then I show him, look, this is the situation. There is a property on your building that was sold for this price with the same condition of yours. This property that's up to sell right now, that it's in a better condition than yours, so you cannot list your property for the same price of this other property. You got to be lower. And then what do we do next? Very simple. There's only one strategy in the market. If there is no showing request for 3 weeks, we lower the price. And then after that, if we continue not getting any showing request, we drop the price $5,000 every 2 weeks. Good. And then we start working. Okay? So we need to understand how is our play in this game. We are facilitators. We don't have power of attorney. We don't make a decision for nobody. Okay? Now comes here, we're going to be talking about this. I'm going to show you right now. Okay? There's a slide that's coming up that's called assignability. Remember that there is one assign that we were talking before, and Joseph said is assigning to transfer the right of a contract to another. He was right if we will talk about a contract. But when we will talk about lease, the assigning on a lease is to assign the lease to another person, right? Which is also same as transfer the rights. Now, this is different. Assignability, it's more or less the same thing. Let's say you guys are working with a Brazilian buyer and you're talking to them on the phone and you're sending them some option for property that they want to buy here. And then they tell you, oh, Rafael, I like this, from all this property that you send me, there's 5 property that I love it. I'm going to be in Miami in October 25th. I want you to meet me at the hotel and show me these 5 properties. and I will make a decision on which one I'm gonna put it off. Very good. So Rafael goes pick him up at the hotel and take him to see all these 5 properties. After that, the buyer decides, I wanna put an offer on this property here. Now, Rafael explained to this foreigner buyer that if he buys the property on his name, when he sells the property, if he sells the property for more money than he bought it, he's gonna have a profit. And because he's a foreigner, the income taxes is 40%. Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And then Rafael told him, you know what? I suggest that you open a LLC, a corporation, and you buy the property under the corporation name. Because when you sell the property, it's not a foreigner who is selling, it's the corporation. And then you pay 15% instead of 40%. So the guy accepted. Rafael, great idea, man. Thank you for that. So let's open the corporation. Now, Rafael showed him the property today. He doesn't have the corporation open. He just got here today. If we wait until the corporation is open to put an offer, the house might be sold already. Right?
Yeah.
Because Rafael doesn't want to lose the opportunity to put an offer on the property. So here's what Rafael is going to do. Rafael is going to put an offer under the buyer's name. Antonio Fagundes. How about that buyer for you, Rafael?
Love him.
Yeah. So you are going to put a check mark right here. May assign but not be released from liability under this contract. Okay, what does that mean? It means this. We're going to put an offer under Antonio Fagundes. The seller is going to accept the offer, and now we secure the property. While we are working on the closing for this property, Antonio Fagundes is opening his corporation, right?
Right.
So at the day of the closing, corporation is open, and he's going to close in the name of the corporation. So he's going to assign this contract to the corporation. That's why we have a clause in the contract called assignability. What is assignability? It's transfer the right of a no, Joseph, I wanted you to say what assignability is. Joseph is sleeping. He muted the microphone. Joseph!
Joseph.
I'm here.
I wanted you to explain what assignability is, the same way you did before.
Assignability is whenever you're going to purchase the property, before you actually close on it, you go into the escrow period or you go under contract.
No, I want you to give me the same explanation you gave me the last class.
Okay, when you own the rights of the contract, which you assign them to another individual instead of closing on the property.
Beautiful. It's when you transfer the right of a contract to another person. That's what assignability is. When you transfer the rights of a contract to another person.
It's like a quit claim deed.
No.
No. It's when you're going to buy a property, you own the right. Well, not the right, but you own the right to purchase the property and close on it per the contract. If for whatever reason you don't want to, maybe a good example is this: if 123 Main Street is on sale for $300,000, and houses in the neighborhood are sold for $300,000. If I find somebody that's willing to sell the house in the neighborhood for $150,000, and I say I'm going to buy this house for $150,000, I'll close on it in 30 days. In 10 days, Guillermo comes and says, "Hey, I want this house," and I tell him, "Well, houses in this neighborhood sell for $300,000. I'll give you this house for $250,000." And he says, "Hey, that's such a great deal. Why'd you give that to me?" And I say, "Hey, I'm going to give you the house for $250,000. We go to closing. He buys the house, and I receive $100,000 for passing the contract along. So that's typically why people like the assignability.
Ah, ok.
Good example.
Transferência, não é? Uma transferência de contrato.
Transferência de contrato. É. Quando você
Ok.
transfere os direitos do contrato de uma pessoa para outra.
Uhum.
Now, let me tell you one thing. There's a lot of people doing that's similar to what Joseph said. Okay? There's a lot of people doing this. And let me tell you, to do this, you don't even need a license.
You don't need a license, yeah.
Now, you go house to house, and you look into those houses that looks abandoned. You have about 15 investors that already contact you and said, look, if I can buy a house and make around $30,000 flipping the house, I'll buy the house. So now you're going to start looking for the house, and then you see a house that looks abandoned, and then you are going to make a calculation and find out how much the house would be worth if the house was renovated. Then let's say that the house renovated would be sold for $250,000, and he's going to spend $50,000 on the renovation, right? And you want to make $5,000 on that contract. So $250 minus 50 for the renovation is $200 minus $5,000 that you want to make it on that contract, $195. You have to buy for $195. Then you go visit the owner's house and say, Mr. Owner, my name is John Smith, and I want to buy your house. I offer you $195,000 cash, and I can close in 15 days. Here's my business card. If you change your mind, give me a call. And then I start doing this every house. Then someone calls me and say, you know what, Alindo, I accept your offer for $195. Very nice. Then I take the contract and I put the assignability that I'm able to assign the contract to another person, and I put the contract for $195. Now I go to my investor and I take the contract to him and I sell this piece of paper. I'm not selling a house. I'm selling a piece of paper called contract. And the guy pays me $5,000 for that piece of paper. And he closed for $195. So $5,000 that he gave me plus $195, he bought the house for $200. Then he repairs, sells, and make the money. And I can do that over and over again and make $5,000 in every contract. If I do once a week, I'll make $5,000 a week. How is that for a business?
Yeah.
Understand what assignability is?
Yeah.
All right, very good. We were talking about contingents upon the buyer being approved. This is a contingent on the contract, right?
Yes.
If we don't have that contingency on the contract, the buyer not being approved on a loan, he can lose his deposit. And this is what it is. Look, financing. Let me tell you one thing. When I was more active in buying, selling, representing buyer, representing seller, I had an assistant because I didn't want to waste time, making contracts. I could be outside showing properties, right?
Right.
So I sent a text to my assistant and I took a picture of the buyer's driver license and I told her, prepare a contract for this buyer's use for this property. And she prepared the contract. But there's one thing that I never transfer is the responsibility on the contract. I never transfer that to nobody. Even though she was a real estate agent, she knows what she's doing. She's been doing this for many years. She's been a assistant for many different agents. I don't trust anybody on documentation because if they make a simple mistake, who do you think is going to answer for that mistake?
You.
Me. And for this particular example, she forgot to click the box on line 86. Look at line 86. Okay? We have line 82 that says the buyer will pay cash. You see that? Are you guys reading that with me? Line 82 says the buyer will pay cash. So if the buyer pays cash, then I'll click here. Right?
Right.
If the buyer is financed, then I must click here.
Right.
Because this is the one who says that this contract is contingent upon buyer obtain approval on a loan. And she
Yeah.
forgot to put the check mark here. If I submit the contract without reviewing and the buyer is denied on the loan, the buyer will lose his deposit because there is no contingency.
Yeah.
You understand that? Now, you see something in one place, in one slide that's just about to help you pass the exam. Now you see this in action, right? You have to come here and click that this contract is contingent upon. That's how you create a contingency on the contract. We good?
Yeah.
Now,
Good.
just point out the most important thing that will also be related to your life and test. Now, if the property is in Miami-Dade, we always check this box here, that the seller shall furnish a copy of the private owner policy of title insurance. So he must show that he had a title insurance. Okay? Who should provide the title insurance? The seller should provide the title insurance. Now, look at this. I think I showed you guys this. Yeah, I did. Seller shall pay the assessment in full prior to or at closing. What does this special assessment refers to? HOA?
Are those assessments that we
No,
spoke about
tax,
earlier, the taxes?
taxes.
That's for the city.
Municipality taxes.
Any improvement that the city does that will improve the value of your property. That's what this assessment is all about. I had agents in my office that they check mark here and he was sure that this was related to the HOA and it's not. Okay? Now, we already spoke about the inspection period. That's also a date, 15 days from the acceptance. Once you have the communication, they communicate to you, look, the buyer accepted or the seller accepted your offer. Now you know from that day, you have 15 days to order your inspection, review the report, and answer the seller either you're going to pursue or you're going to cancel. Okay?
Okay.
Now, everything else, it's more to real life than for your test. It's just curiosity that I'm sharing with you guys. By the way, if the buyer does not know what this is, can I explain him what this is?
No.
Yes.
Who can?
Attorney.
Attorney, yes. I cannot interpret a contract. Oh, we're going to be talking about this too very soon, 1031 exchange. We're not going to say anything. FIPTA also. Now, the last thing is about additional terms. You can put in additional terms that the chandelier is not included, that the refrigerator is a sub-zero. You can put anything that you want in additional terms. In general, what we put in additional terms to protect the buyer, remember, I am the agent and I am representing the buyer. My job is to protect the buyer. And this is what I'm going to write in here. If there is any open permits or violations, the seller at seller's sole expense will repair the violation and close the permits. That's something that I always put in a contract, because what if the title company find out that there is violations on the property or there are open permits? Who is going to be responsible to close the open permits or fix the violations? If I don't put anything in the contract, we're going to have a fight between buyer and seller to find out who is going to fix that. So once I put in the contract, look at what it says here on the page here, seller's signature. If the seller signs it, then the seller will be responsible for it. We good?
We're good.
Great. Now we go back here. And we continue on the contract. Now, how do we terminate a contract? By closing, right? One of the
Yeah.
ways to terminate a contract is by closing or mutual rescission. Both of them decides not to perform anymore. It's a mutual decision. Impossibility of performance, lapse of time. Remember that we will talk about on or before November 25, on November 26, lapse of time, and breach of a contract. Now, we need to understand that breach of a contract will terminate a contract, but there will be consequences. And that's what we're going to be talking here. What are the consequences of breaching a contract? If you look at, we have two options. One is called specific performance, and the other one is called liquidated damages. And we can also include the unliquidated damages. Now, specific performance, only the buyer will sue the seller for a specific performance. The seller does not sue the buyer for a specific performance. Only the buyer sues the seller for a specific performance. Let's say I'm representing a buyer, and about 10 days from closing, the seller calls and say, you know what, I'm not selling anymore because my mom said that she wants to live in the property. I'm not selling anymore. Now, the buyer will sue the seller for what?
For
I just said it. I just said it. And I said it 3 times.
for breach of contract.
No, he's going to sue him for a specific performance. Only the buyer sues the seller for specific performance. If the seller decides not to sell anymore, the buyer will sue the seller for what?
Specific performance.
And what does that mean?
That you broke to perform, yeah. You failed to perform.
Contract.
Huh?
You terminate the contract.
I don't know what you mean by terminating a contract, because terminating is by ending. What did you say, Rafael?
You broke your performing. Don't know how to say that.
Say in Portuguese.
Você quebrou o seu. Você não cumpriu sua parte.
But what does specific performance mean? I'm going to sue him for specific performance.
When seller breach the contract.
But what does that mean? What will be results of this? What is the specific performance will make the seller do?
Go to court.
Will make the seller sell the property. That's what specific performance means.
Will force the seller.
Of course, this is not a child game, you know. It's not jogo de bolinha de gude.
Force the
Perdeu.
seller.
Perdeu.
Specific performance means, man, you signed the contract saying that you're going to sell it. Now you have to sell it. I don't
Obrigação de
care who
fazer. Obrigação de fazer.
I don't care who wants to live in the property. You have to sell it.
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
Okay, that's what specific performance is. Now, liquidated damage, the seller sues the buyer for liquidated damage. Buyer sues the seller for specific performance, and seller sues the buyer for liquidated damage. And when we talk about liquidated damage, we talk about the deposit. Let's say that the buyer was denied on the loan, but the agent did not do anything the day of the closing. Now we have passed the termination date, the closing date, and the seller wants the deposit. That is liquidated damage, when the seller sues the buyer for the deposit. Okay?
Okay.
Now, let's give an example, guys. Think with me, because I want you guys to understand the process. All right? If I
Right.
come in and I tell you things, but you don't picture the idea, when I finish the class, you already forgot. Let's say I'm gonna use Alexandra now. Alexandra,
Mm.
you are selling your property and buying another one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
You are buying a property and you put a $50,000 deposit
Mm-hmm.
because you are under contract with Rafael.
Mm-hmm.
Rafael is gonna buy your property. And
Uh-huh.
with the money of that property, you will be able to buy your property.
Yeah.
Put $50,000 deposit there. Rafael put $10,000 deposit to buy your property.
Mm-hmm.
Rafael breached the contract. Now, you sue Rafael for liquidated damages.
Uh-huh.
How much is the liquidated damage in that case between you and Rafael?
Rafael lost the deposit.
How much? How much?
10,000. He put
$10,000. Okay. But now, listen. Now, think it with me.
Huh.
You also didn't buy your property. Right?
You also what?
You also didn't buy your property. The property that you were buying,
The new house.
the new
Oh
one.
yeah. Oh yeah. I was buying another house. Oh no. The total is 60,000. 50 that I gave to the.
No. Don't mix it up things. Don't mix it up things. Let's go one at a time. You're gonna sue Rafael for the liquidated damages, which is $10,000 because that's the amount of deposit. And liquidated damage is linked to the deposit that Rafael made.
Okay.
But because Rafael did not close on your property, you also did not close on the property you were buying. Now your seller wants to keep your 50,000. So you're losing 40,000.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna sue Rafael for unliquidated damages.
Unliquidated damage.
Okay?
Mm.
Liquidated damage. Huh?
It all goes bad when people don't make it to closing.
Yes, it all goes back. It's like a domino effect. Okay? So you are going to get the $10,000, which is your liquidated damage.
Uh-huh.
Now you're going to go to court and sue Rafael for $40,000, which is unliquidated damages. Now, that's going to be decided, of course, by the court.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you're going to win the $40,000. Maybe you win more than that. But we need to understand the difference between these three things. And this is not to memorize. The word specific performance telling me, guys, you must perform. You cannot walk away from it.
I understood because liquidated damage is right directly with the exact amount he lost, right?
Of the deposit.
For deposit.
Yeah, right amount
But
of the
unliquidated is because we cannot say the liquidity right now, what I'm going to ask to the court, because I lost my money to the other seller, and maybe I had others expenses, you know, with my family, with renting, etc. You know.
Yeah. Good. We're good here.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I got you.
Oh, look, assignment of a contract. Do I need to say anything about this?
Oh.
No.
You just had a class on that.
The only thing is that who is the assignor and who is the assignee? Remember, I told you guys that the or and the is gonna show up a lot in our course.
Yeah.
In our last example, the house owner is the assignor.
No. Whoever has
Oh,
the contract.
When you assign the contract, okay.
Yeah.
So it's the person in the middle.
The assignor is whoever has the contract.
Yeah.
Remember the example I gave about the $195,000? The contract is on my name.
Right.
So I'm selling the contract to you, Rafael, for $5,000. So who is the assignor and who is the assignee? Rafael, for you question. Who is the assignor and who is the assignee between me and you?
Can you say the situation again?
I bought the property for $195
Okay.
and I sold the contract to you for $5,000.
So you were the assignor.
Yes, I'm the assignor and you are the assignee.
Yes, you're assigning the contract to me, so I'm the assignee. Okay.
All right. Now, who is the vendor? And who is the vendor? Tell me who is the vendor. Let me grab some water while you think about who is the vendor.
This is
That would
easy.
be the vendor is the person selling the houses to you, right?
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, who's gonna tell me that? Who is the vendor?
The vendor is the seller,
Very good. Vendee is the
Purchaser.
buyer.
buyer. All right. Essential elements of a contract again. Meeting of the minds. What is the meeting of the minds? When we agree to
Agree.
terms and conditions in the contract, right? So
Right.
after everybody agree, what is missing for us to have a contract?
Communicate.
Huh?
Communicate.
Communication. Very good. What is missing to have a contract is communication. Okay? Also, we need to have a consideration. What is a consideration?
It's the money or affect.
Yes. Valuable or good.
Good.
Okay? And consideration is also a promise of future money. And we also need a competent parties and we need a legal subject matter. Now we talk about listing contract. This water was so good.
The owner and the
But I
broker.
need some meat because my throat is it's closing. My vocal cords. All right, guys. I like when my camera is not working because then I can move around. And for me, teaching sitting down, you have no idea how hard it is. You know,
Yeah.
the energy doesn't flow. But now I stand up and I walk around and I talk. It's way better. Now, let me ask you a question. If you could choose, would you rather work with buyers or sellers? I'm gonna leave the investors out of this example now because we're gonna talk about it later. But for now, just buyers and sellers. If you were to choose, would you rather work with the buyers or sellers?
Sellers.
Sellers. I prefer sellers.
All right. Anybody would rather work with buyers?
No.
Now, why sellers?
Because sellers has the real estate to offer. So we are going to work directly with the owner of the real estate.
Yeah, because if the seller signs a contract with you to sell the property, you don't care who's going to sell. You're going to make a commission. Right?
Mhm.
There's something in our industry that goes like this. Buyers, liars. Unfortunately, that's how it is. Buyers, liars. First
Right.
question I ask to a buyer that calls me out of the blue is this. Are you working with another agent? And he tells me, no, you're the first person that I called. He already saw a property with 3 different agents. And he's telling me that he's working only with me.
Uh-huh.
Be careful with foreigners, especially from your country. I'm not gonna mention what country it is. Why is that? It's not their fault in general. It's because Brazil doesn't have the MLS system that we have here.
No.
Every real estate agency in Brazil has its only listing. So it's very common that people that is buying a house, they visit 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 different agents because they will have different listings. But here in Miami, especially, of course, in the whole United States, but let's talk about Florida, which is our state. We have the MLS. And it makes no difference for a buyer to visit 3, 4, 5, 10 different agents because they're going to have the same listings because we are all connected to the same database.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an education that we need to pass to them.
Yeah.
Right? Now, once you guys agree that it's better to work with the seller, you're going to have a listing agreement between you and the seller. We have 3 different types of listings. How many?
3.
3 different types.
Good. So don't you think you should know which one they are? So you're going to choose the best one?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this only for your test or is it more important for your life?
Life.
Good. So let's go with the first type of a listing agreement, okay? The first one is called open listing. What is it again?
Open listing.
Okay, very good. Now let's assume you guys, all of you are brokers, okay? Let me just see. Oh, okay, participants. There's a lot of cameras missing here.
Not mine.
Okay. The first one is open listing, and let's assume all of you are brokers, and I'm the seller. And I call you guys and I say this, hey guys, I'm selling my property. Whoever succeeds to bring a buyer, I'll pay you 3% commission. Is this a good listing?
Probably not.
No.
It's a 100% no. It's not a good listing. You're going to promote my property. Okay, let's say Joseph decided to put an advertisement on Facebook. He put a budget of $150. And then while he's doing the advertising, Alexandra brings me the buyer and she make the commission and Joseph lost $150. Why are you going to promote my property if I'm not guaranteeing you a commission? This is not a good listing. Who's going to make the commission? Whoever succeeded bringing a buyer. Okay? The name of this agreement is called what again?
Open listing.
Okay. The second one is exclusive agency.
That's one.
Exclusive agency. Let me tell you what exclusive agency is. Between all of you guys, I decided to hire Joseph, which is my first one on the listing. I decided to hire Joseph to sell my property. And if he sells the property, he's going to get a commission. Is that better than the first one?
Yes.
But there is a but on this agreement. Joseph, I'm going to give you an an exclusive agency. That means this, Joseph, if you bring a buyer, I'm going to pay you a commission. But if I bring the buyer, I'm the seller. If I bring the buyer, I give you nothing. Is this good?
No.
No. It's not good. Do you believe that the seller is going to try to give you a exclusive agency?
No.
Yes, because he wants to save a commission. He's going to offer you that. I'm the seller, Joseph. We have a conversation, okay? You're the seller. You're the broker. Now let's change. I'm the broker, okay? And you're the seller. And you offer me that. You just told me that if you sell the property, you will not pay me a commission. And then I'm gonna sell it to you, Mr. Joseph.
Yep.
I'm going to promote your property. I'm going to market it. I'm going to put a sign in your property. I'm going to do open houses. I'm going to put it on Facebook. I'm going to pay for advertising. And of course, the address of your property, Mr. Joseph, it will be on all the advertisings. Can you track where the person comes from if someone knocks on your door? Can you really say that it was you who got the buyer, or if it was the effort of my work? You cannot track it, right? Now, Mr. Joseph, and that's the question that I put everybody against the wall, because there are bad people out there. I'm sorry to break the news to you guys. But nobody wants to show that they are not good. So this is my question. Joseph, do you think it's fair that I do all this work and then a buyer comes directly to you and buy the property from you and I don't get compensation? What do you think Joseph is going to tell me?
No fair.
No, he's going to, of course he's going to say no. Of course it's not fair.
Perfectly fair.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's fair, or any seller would say it's fair.
It's not fair for you, Orlando, because, you know, I'm doing all the work and this can happen, right? A buyer can come directly to you. But I was the one who promoted the property. I was the one who put your property in front of this buyer, and he decided to come directly to you instead of calling me. So I'm losing my commission, even though I was the one who found the buyer. So in general, the sellers will say, well, Linda, you know, I agree with you. It's not fair. But what if, because he's still trying to save commission. And he says to me, Arlindo, what if a member of my family or a friend of mine buys the property? I know exactly what he has in mind. If anyone knocks on his door, he's going to say, this is my cousin.
This is my father-in-law.
Then I look at him and I say, look, I grab a piece of paper and I give to him. You know what, Mr. Seller, I believe you're right. But do me a favor. Write down in this piece of paper all the family members and friends that you think would buy your property. And if that person that you put on the list to come and buy the property, then you don't pay me a commission. What do you think he's going to do?
He's not going to do this.
Of course not, because if he had anyone from his family or friends that wants to buy the property, he would already have sold the property.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's understand the difference between the first two listing agreements. The first one is open. Open means only the successful broker will be compensated. Only one. Whoever brings the buyer will be compensated. The second one, the broker will be compensated, but if the seller finds the buyer, broker gets nothing. Okay, let's say I give the listing to Joseph. And Alexander brought a buyer. Is Joseph and Alexander going to get compensated?
Alexander?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joseph and Alexander will be compensated. Okay? Because I offered Joseph 6% commission, and Joseph put it on the MLS that he's willing to split 3% of his commission to another agent who brings a buyer. And then Alexander brings a buyer, so Alexander gets 3%, Joseph gets 3%, and I will pay the 6%. Okay? The only way that Joseph is getting nothing if I, the seller, sells the property. Okay, let's go to the third one. The third one is called exclusive right of sale. All right.
Third one.
The third one is called exclusive right of sale. An exclusive right of sale means that the broker will be compensated regardless of who sells the property, including the seller. Which one is the best one now?
This,
Yeah.
this one.
Broker will be compensated regardless of who sells the property, including the seller. That's the one that you should get.
Mm-hmm.
Now you understand the difference between those three and understand well for your life and for your test.
Yes.
The listing. Don't get confused with exclusive, okay? Because both of them has exclusive, but one it says exclusive agency and the other one says exclusive right of sale. All right. Now, what do we need? We need a date, okay? A date of this when it will expire. We need a description of the property. We need the listing price and the terms that will be accepted by the seller. We need the broker's compensation, how much money I will make it. We need the signature of all the owners. And we need to provide the seller a copy of the listing agreement within 24 hours or the seller can cancel. Alexa, set the AC to 76. Or,
Alexa, it's 10:05.
no, it's cold in here. Now, and I also I cannot have a listing agreement to be auto-renew. Okay? No automatic renewal. If the listing expired, I need to make a no listing with a no signature, cannot be auto-renew. Now, look at all those requirements. Date, expiration date, description of the property, listing price, terms. Now, better. Who has a phone on the hand? Joseph, right?
Yeah.
Joseph, take a picture of that screen.
Can't wait until everyone in here is a real estate agent and they never take their phone out of their hand. I don't know how you knew I had my phone in my hand.
Because you were
I am
looking
doing
down.
class with the phone.
Just messing with you. I took a picture of it.
Did you?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Now, this is, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, this is the exclusive right of sale listing agreement, okay? We were talking about it, and now we see it, okay? Now, we need to have the seller's name and the broker's name. There, okay? Now, what is the first item on the listing that you took a picture, Joseph? Joseph?
I'm right here. I'm looking at it. It's kind of blurry.
Is it blurry?
Yeah, property address. No, that's buyer walkthrough.
No. Did you take a picture of this? Take again. Here's the image. Take a picture of this image.
475 written listing requirements.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Good. Now go back here. What is the first item on your list?
Is a definite expiration date.
All right. Now look at this. I'm going to highlight here. Beginning. That's going to be today. And I need a termination date. Every single listing agreement needs a termination date which is the first item on your screen. Now, there's a lot of sellers that they want to give me 2 months. And some of them comes with 3 months. I don't take any listing less than 6 months. Why
No?
not? No, I don't take a listing for less than 6 months. And the explanation I give it to the seller to convince him to give me 6 months is to tell him, Mr. Seller, 3 months is not enough for me to take the listing, take a pictures, put the listing on the MLS, promote your property, find a buyer, and close a contract.
Yeah.
Not enough. There's a lot to do, and 3 months not enough.
Yeah.
So I always put 6 months. What is the second item on your list, Joseph?
Description of the property.
Oh, description of the property right here. What is the description? Address and legal description. Don't forget, the legal description must be there.
Yeah.
What is the next item, Joseph?
Listing price and terms.
Right here, listing price and terms. You're gonna put here the price that you are, that the seller would be willing to take. Let's say $550,000, and he would accept cash, conventional, VA, or FHA. We're gonna talk about this on chapter 12, our very next chapter. What is the next item on your list?
Broker's compensation fee or commission.
Broker's compensation. Now we come to the broker's compensation. Now aqui a gente mata a cobra e mostra o pau.
Mm-hmm.
Compensation. Seller will compensate broker with 6%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Seller will compensate the broker with 6%. What is the next item?
Signature of the owners.
All right. Right here. Seller's signature and seller's signature. Okay? They must sign. What is the next item?
Copy to the seller within 24 hours.
And this is what I do. If I take this listing in person to the seller to sign, I take a copy with me. And then I check mark it here. Personal delivery. Remember, he's going to sign right here and right here. And if he signs here, he agreed that he has received a copy. And then he cannot deny that he never got a copy because I put personal delivery. If the signature is through email, like electronic signature, as soon as I receive the listing agreement signed, I send him a copy on an email. I send him an email with a copy of it. And then I have a proof on my email that I send the copy to him within 24 hours. We good?
Good.
All right. Great. There's one more thing I'm going to show you here because I know it's there and I wanted to talk to you about it. Once we're here, then we don't have to come back here, which is the protection period. Look here. Protection period. Let's understand what this protection period is, okay? Gabriela, are you here, Gabriela?
Yes, I am.
All right, good. So I'm selling Gabriela's house. Claudia, are you here?
Aquí estoy.
Aquí estoy. Okay, I have the listing from Gabriela, and I'm trying to sell Gabriela's property. Our listing agreement is about to expire, and then Claudia, who is a potential buyer, calls me and says, Arlindo, I found this property on the internet, and I see that you are the contact, and I like to see this property. I said, okay. When can I see it? Today at 4 o'clock. Very good. Then I call Gabriela and I say, Gabriela, I'm going to show you a property at 4 o'clock. I say, okay, Arlindo, I'll be home. All right. Then I set up an appointment with Claudia and then we meet at the house. So I ring the bell, When Claudia opens the door and sees Claudia, oh, they're both screaming, Claudia, my friend, a long time I don't see you. And they start talking about high school, about a bunch of things.
Oh,
Do you think I'm concerned? Our agreement is about to expire in 20 days. Do you think I'm concerned?
oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Life
Yeah.
is too short. But
Why not?
I'll tell you. We got in and said, okay, let me show you the property because I have another appointment, and then you guys can stay here and catch up with all the news that you guys have. So I showed the property to Claudia and I left. And Claudia said, you know what, I'm gonna stay. Oh yes, stay here. I'm gonna make some cake and then we're gonna sit down and talk. All right. So what happened is during the conversation between Gabriela and Claudia, Gabriela told Claudia, Claudia, do you like the property? Yes. Do you want to buy it? Yes, I love it. The property is amazing. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Then do this. My contract with Orlando will expire in 20 days. Wait 20 days. The contract will expire. He's going to call me. I will not extend the contract. And if he calls you, you say that you're not interested. And then after the expiration, I sell the property to you and I give you the commission that I was going to give to Orlando. I'll give to you and then everybody be happy. All right. So then I call Gabriela. Gabriela says, I don't want to extend the listing anymore. I call Claudia. Claudia says, you know what? I didn't like the property. Okay. Then I found out later, about 2 months later, 3 months later, that Claudia bought the property. How do I find out?
In the
In the
deed.
expired listing?
No, public records. You bought the property, you registered the deed under your name. And I found out that you bought it. All right, now I'm gonna go to Claudia's house. No, Claudia, Gabriela's house. Of course, I'm not gonna go there, just for the heck of the fun of the example. And I'm gonna tell Gabriela, I'm here to collect my commission. Oh, what commission, Orlando? You didn't sell my property. I did it. Yeah, but you sold it to a buyer that I showed. Well, but she didn't buy with you. She bought after the contract expired. Yes, Mrs. Gabriela, but you are forgetting this. There's a protection period in your agreement that says, and that's what I put in all my agreement, 180 days. That says that I have a protection period for 6 months, which means that if you sell the property to any buyer that I bring in during 180 days after the expiration, I'm still entitled to the commission. So please pay my commission.
Smart
Good.
guy.
Exactly. Very good.
Now, this is what a protection period is. Okay? It's to protect me if the seller sells the property to any buyer that I brought after the expiration. Guys, this does not apply if the buyer comes with a different agent. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this works also for a lease?
Yes, there's a protection period on a, but it's a listing agreement, not leasing.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, listing. All listing agreement has protection period.
Okay.
I have a question.
Or if Gabriela released the property with somebody else. Yes.
May I have a question?
Sure.
The 180 days you put is mandatory, or you can choose more?
No,
time?
that's me. I always put 180. Some
Okay,
people
but you
put
can
30
put
days, 60 days.
You can put 200 days.
Yeah, you can. Whatever number you put it there.
Okay.
There's, in that field, there's not even a suggestion. You remember that on inspection period, they have a suggestion for 15 days? In this one here, doesn't even have a suggestion. You put it whatever.
Okay.
I put 180.
Okay.
All right. Guys, is this clear?
Yes.
Super clear.
Very good. Very good. Then, if you don't have any question, I'm going to end the class.
See you tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow, Thursday. Okay?
Is this weekend we are going to have class?
No.
Oh, yes, of course not.
Oh, thank you. I'm super busy this
Following
weekend.
It's the following weekend. It's going to be
Okay.
graduation weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. Also Halloween's.
Okay. Okay, guys. See
Wait,
you
do we have
tomorrow.
class on Halloween?
Yes, we do.
We have classes.
Oh,
Can we come with the
until
costume?
when?
Saturday from 9 to 6:30 on the 31st.
You're killing me.
Actually, Halloween is the 30th, not 31st. Halloween is Friday.
Okay.
Joseph, you're mute.
Oh yeah, it's Friday, right?
Yeah, I was probably just. I was talking to somebody over here, telling them to keep the noise down.
Halloween is on Saturday.
Saturday's 31st.
Yeah, that's when Halloween is.
Halloween is 31st.
Okay, let's come with the costumes.
Yeah, good. You can come with the
Well,
class.
if we're going to be on until 6, I just hope you know I'm going to be multitasking.
Well, you're going to be paying attention on the class and be here.
I'll be here. I'll just be
Or I
multitasking.
will put absence and you won't be able to test. Huh?
Okay.
No, don't say that.
No. All right, good. So
Okay, see you guys
have
tomorrow.
a mandatory costume.
Sorry, no.
Mandatory costume for Friday.
Okay.
All right, guys. I see you tomorrow. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Bye.
Bye.